The breaking point. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching the swirling lights of FTL ships arriving for the Galactic Senate's 300th Grand Assembly. The massive space station hung in neutral territory between the three most powerful alien civilizations, the crystalline Axari, the silicon-based Meridians, and the energy beings known as the Collective. Behind her, Earth's delegation prepared for what would be their last presentation to the Senate. They didn't know that yet. Only Sarah and a select few were aware of what was about to unfold. She touched the small quantum communicator in her pocket, a piece of technology that no other species knew humans possessed. The message from Earth Command was simple: proceed with Exodus Protocol. Ambassador, they're ready for us, said Dr. James Rodriguez, Earth's lead scientist. In his hands, he held a data chip containing humanity's gift to the galaxy, a revolutionary fusion containment system that could provide clean energy to every world in known space. It was their final olive branch, their last attempt at being treated as equals. The Senate chamber was a testament to alien architecture, a vast amphitheater with environmental zones for every species. The air itself seemed to shimmer with translation fields, allowing seamless communication between races that had evolved on worlds millions of light years apart. Sarah took her place at the speaker's podium, facing the assembled representatives of over 200 spacefaring civilizations. The familiar condescension in their postures made her stomach turn. 50 years of humanity proving themselves, and still, they were treated like children playing with dangerous toys. Esteemed members of the Senate, she began, her voice steadied despite the anger burning in her chest. Earth comes before you today with a solution to the energy crisis affecting the Outer Rim colonies. Dr. Rodriguez has developed a fusion containment system that the humans presumed to lecture us on energy technology. The interruption came from Sarval, the Axari representative. His crystalline form pulsed with dismissive colors. Your species barely achieved FTL travel a century ago. The Axari mastered fusion when your ancestors were still hunting with pointed sticks. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Sarah's fingers tightened on the podium, but she maintained her diplomatic smile. With respect, Representative Axarval, our system has achieved 98% efficiency. The current Axari designs operate at 62%. Impossible. The Meridian representative's silicon plates clattered in agitation. Such claims must be verified by the Senate's Science Council, a process that could take decades, given humanity's junior status. Sarah felt a deep calm settle over her. This was exactly what Earth Command had predicted. This moment had been wargamed in 1,000 simulations. She reached into her pocket and crushed the quantum communicator, sending the prearranged signal. There will be no verification process, she said, her voice cutting through the chamber's babble. Earth withdraws its submission. In fact, Earth withdraws from the Galactic Senate entirely. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Collective's energy forms flickered in agitation, while the Axari's crystals chimed in alarm. The Meridian's silicon bodies ground together in what Sarah had learned was their expression of disbelief. This is unprecedented. The Senate President, a gaseous being contained in an environmental suit, expanded in agitation. You cannot simply withdraw. There are protocols, treaties, all of which include provisions for voluntary withdrawal. Sarah interrupted. Earth has fulfilled every obligation, paid every tithe, and contributed to every humanitarian crisis for 50 years. We have earned our place 1,000 times over, yet you treat us like children. That ends today. Throughout the chamber, the human delegation was standing, removing their translation devices, and walking toward the exits. The sight of it sent ripples of unease through the alien representatives. This was not the typical human behavior they had come to expect. The eager-to-please species always seeking approval. This is nothing but an emotional outburst, Sarval declared, but there was uncertainty in his crystalline resonance. You'll be back when you realize how much you need the Senate's protection. Sarah allowed herself a small, knowing smile. No, Representative. We won't. She looked around the chamber one last time. You have 48 hours to evacuate all your diplomatic personnel from Earth space. After that, our borders will be closed. Any unauthorized vessels will be considered hostile. You dare threaten the Senate? The Meridian's voice was a grating screech of silicon on silicon. Not a threat, a statement of fact. Sarah turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and one last thing. You might want to check the source codes of your fusion reactors. You'll find that the efficiency improvements you've enjoyed over the last decade came from human developers. Those patches will be deactivated when our borders close. The chamber descended into pandemonium as the human delegation walked out. Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders with each step. Behind her, she could hear the Senate President calling for order, the Axari demanding explanations, the Meridians calculating the impact on their economies. None of them knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this moment, building, innovating, and hiding their true capabilities. The galaxy had dismissed them as upstart children for the last time. As their shuttle detached from Harmony Station, Sarah watched the Senate chamber recede into the distance. Dr. Rodriguez sat beside her, his data chip still in hand. They never even looked at it, he said quietly. No, Sarah replied. But they will. When their reactors start failing, when their economies begin to crumble, when they realize just how much they've come to depend on the species they dismissed as primitive, then they'll wish they had. The shuttle's quantum drive engaged, using technology that the Senate believed was centuries beyond human capability. As they vanished into FTL, Sarah sent a final message to Earth Command. Exodus Protocol initiated. Operation Revelation begins. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity, and Sarah Chen would have a front-row seat to watch it unfold. Silent thunder. Admiral Helena Drake stood in the command center of Titan Base, watching holographic displays track the evacuation of alien diplomats from human space. The massive underground facility, hidden beneath the moon's icy surface, had been one of humanity's best-kept secrets. Now, as Operation Revelation unfolded, it was becoming the nerve center of humanity's emergence from the shadows. Last diplomatic vessel has cleared the Kuiper Belt. Admiral, reported Commander Jack Torres, his dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. We're officially alone in our solar system for the first time in 50 years. Helena nodded, her silver-streaked hair catching the blue light of the holographic displays. Initiate Phase 2. Deploy the quantum mesh. Across the solar system, hidden satellites began activating. Thousands of devices, disguised as debris or simple communication relays, powered up simultaneously. They created an invisible web of quantum-entangled particles, a defensive network that would make human space virtually impenetrable. Quantum mesh achieving coherence, announced Dr. Maya Patel, the project's lead scientist. Her fingers danced across floating holographic controls. 97% coverage achieved. No signs of detection from Senate observation posts. Helena allowed herself a small smile. The Senate's much-vaunted surveillance network couldn't detect the quantum mesh because they still believed quantum entanglement couldn't be maintained on a large scale. Just one of the many technological advances humanity had carefully hidden. Message from Earth Command, Torres said. Project Shadowfall is green-lit across all colonies. On screens around the command center, reports began flowing in from human settlements across dozens of star systems. Hidden facilities emerging from underground bunkers, beneath ocean floors, and inside asteroids. Massive ships, far more advanced than anything humanity had ever shown to the Senate, slipped out of dimensional pockets where they'd been concealed. Admiral, Maya called out, her voice tense. We're detecting increased communications between Senate worlds. They're trying to ping our networks. Let them, Helena replied. Maintain communication blackout. Time to show them what silence really means. The next few hours were a carefully choreographed dance of revelation and concealment. While the Senate worlds panicked at humanity's sudden disappearance, Earth's true defensive capabilities were falling into place. Quantum-powered shields enveloped every human world. Dimensional stabilizers, technology the Senate thought impossible, created secure spaces where faster-than-light sensors couldn't penetrate. Message from Ambassador Chen, Torres announced. The Senate has called an emergency session. Apparently, the Axary's primary fusion network just dropped to 62% efficiency. Helena checked the time. Right on schedule. Dr. Patel, how are our monitoring systems performing? Maya's hands moved through the holographic displays. Perfect coverage, Admiral. We're seeing everything, and they're seeing nothing. The quantum mesh is giving us real-time data from every Senate world. Show me the Meridian shipyards, Helena ordered. A new hologram sprang to life, showing the massive silicon-based civilization's primary construction facilities. Already, ships were being pulled from active service as their human-designed software patches deactivated. The Meridians had never questioned why their efficiency had improved so dramatically after allowing human engineers to study their technology. Admiral, Torres interrupted, his voice urgent. We're detecting multiple attempts to breach our border. Senate scout ships testing the edges of our space. Helena watched the tactical display as the scout ships approached. The quantum mesh detected them long before they reached the border, tracking their every movement. Let them come. Standard warning protocol. When the first scout ship crossed the border, it encountered something no Senate world had ever seen. The quantum mesh created a localized space-time distortion, temporarily phasing the ship into a parallel dimension before depositing it back in normal space, facing the direction it had come from. Scout ships are retreating, Torres reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. Getting some interesting energy readings from their sensors. They're trying to figure out what happened. They won't, Maya said confidently. The technology gap is too wide now. We've kept our best innovations hidden for decades while feeding them just enough to keep them complacent. Helena moved to the central platform of the command center, where a galactic map showed the spreading ripples of humanity's withdrawal. Already, trade routes were being disrupted as human ships disappeared from the spaceways. Economic algorithms were predicting significant disruptions in dozens of sectors that had relied on human innovation without acknowledging it. Message from the collective, Torres announced. They're offering to mediate a return to the Senate. They claim they can guarantee us improved status. No response, Helena ordered. The time for negotiations is over. Now we show them what humanity can really do. She turned to address the command center staff. For 50 years, we played the role they expected. The eager students, the junior partners, the useful primitives. We let them think they were guiding our development while we quietly surpassed them in every field that mattered. Now they'll learn what humanity is truly capable of. Admiral, Maya called out. The quantum mesh is picking up something interesting. The Axari are trying to replicate their usual response to crisis, a show of force. They're mobilizing their fleet. Helena smiled. The Axari, like the rest of the Senate, had no idea that their fleet movements had been monitored by human quantum sensors for decades. Every strength, every weakness, every tactical pattern was documented and analyzed. Let them come, she said quietly. Operation Revelation is proceeding exactly as planned. The galaxy wanted humanity to prove itself. She watched as more Senate ships began moving on the tactical display. Well, they're about to get their wish. In the depths of Titan Base, humanity's true technological might was awakening. The Senate had dismissed them as children playing with borrowed toys. They were about to discover that the children had grown up, and they'd been building their own toys all along. The silent thunder of humanity's emergence was about to become a storm that would reshape the galaxy. The unraveling. First Counselor, Zareth of the Axari Dominion, had never seen the Grand Chamber of Commerce in such disarray. The crystalline beings around him resonated with frequencies of distress, their usual harmonious chiming replaced by discordant vibrations that made the very air seem to shiver. Our primary fusion network is operating at barely 60% capacity, announced Trade Minister Valix, his crystalline form pulsing with red warning colors. Secondary networks are failing. The human software patches we relied on. They weren't just improvements. They were load-bearing structures of our entire energy grid. Zareth felt his own crystal matrix vibrate with suppressed rage. How had they allowed themselves to become so dependent on human technology without realizing it? The humans had played their role perfectly. Always deferential, always eager to help, always seeming to work within the boundaries the Senate set for them. The Meridians report similar problems, said Security Director Krolun. Their shipyards are operating at 40% capacity. The humans didn't just improve their systems, they fundamentally redesigned them. Without the human-designed optimization protocols, their most advanced chips can barely achieve FTL. A message crystal chimed urgently. Zareth touched it, and a holographic representation of a collective energy being appeared. The usually stable plasma form wavered with obvious agitation. First Counselor, we have a greater problem, the collective representative said. We've detected unknown energy signatures throughout Senate space, some form of quantum network we've never seen before. The humans, they're watching us. They've been watching us for years. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out in the chambers of power of every major civilization. The Meridian Silicon Consensus found their vast computational networks running at fraction of their former capability. The collective discovered that their supposedly undetectable energy form transmissions have been monitored for decades. The proud Vrek battle fleets discovered their advanced targeting systems had been subtly dependent on human-designed algorithms. In the Senate Emergency Chamber, representatives from 200 worlds gathered in panic. The massive room, usually a model of ordered debate, had devolved into chaos. We've lost contact with our mining colonies in the Outer Rim, a Meridian representative announced, their silicon plates grinding in distress. Without human maintenance protocols, our autonomous systems are failing. 30 years of infrastructure, crumbling in days. The humans are still there, reported a collective observer. Our long-range sensors detect their ships, their stations, their colonies. But they're different now. Surrounded by technology we can't even understand. It's as if they've pulled back a veil, revealing their true capabilities. In a secure chamber deep within the Senate station, the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered for a classified briefing. Admiral Kex of the Senate Defense Force stood before them, his tentacles writhing with anxiety. The humans didn't just withdraw, he said, projecting a series of images. They revealed themselves. Look at these readings from their border. The images showed impossible energy signatures, space-time distortions that shouldn't exist. They've created some kind of quantum barrier around their territory. Our best ships can't penetrate it. When they try, they're redirected. Sometimes they reappear light years from their intended course. Impossible, declared an Axari scientist. Quantum effects cannot be maintained on that scale. Apparently. Kex replied dryly. No one told the humans that. On the edges of human space, more revelations emerged. Senate observation posts detected massive structures emerging from dimensional spaces that shouldn't exist. Shipyards larger than anything known to the Senate appeared from behind veils of distorted space-time. Fleets of ships unlike anything ever seen began patrolling human borders. In the Meridian Capital Complex, the Silicon Consensus reached a horrifying conclusion. Analysis of decades of human technological assistance revealed a pattern. The humans hadn't just been helping. They had been systematically integrating their technology into every major system in galactic civilization, not as parasites, but as essential components that improved everything they touched. And now, with their withdrawal, those improvements were disappearing. They played us. First Counselor Zareth realized, addressing an emergency session of the Axari leadership. For 50 years, we thought we were tolerating them, guiding them, controlling their development. But they were advancing far beyond us, showing us only what they wanted us to see. A junior analyst, their crystal forms still showing the pure frequencies of youth, spoke up. First Counselor, we've completed analysis of human technological integration across all sectors. The results are disturbing. The analysis appeared in the air between them. It showed not just the extent of human technological penetration, but its elegance. Every improvement they had offered solved multiple problems at once. Every system they touched became more efficient in ways that couldn't be replicated without their input. They didn't just advance beyond us, Zareth said quietly. They did it while convincing us they were barely keeping up. The question is, why reveal themselves now? What's their true objective? The answer came 3 days later, when every major world in Senate space received the same message. It appeared simultaneously on every communication channel, bypassing all security protocols as if they didn't exist. The message was simple. The galaxy wanted humanity to prove itself. Consider this proof. We will accept diplomatic contact in 1 standard week. Choose your representatives wisely. The future of galactic civilization hangs in the balance. In the Senate emergency chamber, 200 species faced a horrible realization. They hadn't been guiding humanity's development. Humanity had been quietly reshaping galactic civilization from within, preparing for this moment. And now, the species they had dismissed as children held the power to reshape or destroy everything they had built. Power shift. Commander Aria Martinez watched from the bridge of the Earth defense ship Prometheus as the Senate diplomatic fleet approached the designated meeting point. The massive ships, once considered the height of galactic technology, now seemed almost primitive compared to the Prometheus's quantum-engineered hull and dimensional stabilizers. 17 vessels approaching, reported Lieutenant Wei, representing the major Senate powers. The Axeri sent their first counselor himself. The Meridian Silicon Consensus sent their entire governing triad. Even the Collective sent their high-energy form. Aria nodded, studying the tactical display. The Senate ships were maintaining exact formation, trying to project strength and unity. But the quantum sensors revealed the truth. Their power systems were struggling, their navigation computers running at minimum capacity, their crews nervous and uncertain. "They're hailing us," Wei announced, using standard Senate protocols. "Let them wait," Aria ordered, following the carefully choreographed plan developed by Earth Command. "Continue scanning. I want to know if they try anything clever." In the Senate fleet's command ship, First Counselor Zareth struggled to maintain his crystalline composure. The human vessel before them defied everything he thought he knew about spacecraft design. Its hull seemed to exist partially in multiple dimensions at once, and their best sensors couldn't get a clear reading on its capabilities. "They're ignoring our hails," reported his communications officer, crystal matrix pulsing with anxiety. "Of course they are," rumbled the Meridian Triad leader, silicon plates shifting in agitation. "They're showing us what it feels like to be dismissed." After exactly 17 minutes, the time it had taken the Senate to respond to Earth's first contact signal 50 years ago, the Prometheus responded to their hail. The holographic communication field sprang to life, showing not just Commander Martins, but a fully dimensional representation of the Prometheus's command center that made the Senate's communication technology look like children's toys. "Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Senate," Aria said calmly. "Welcome to the new era of galactic relations." The Senate representatives tried to maintain their dignity, but Aria could see their discomfort. The Axeri's crystalline forms vibrated with suppressed emotion. The Meridian's silicon bodies ground together nervously, and the Collective's energy form flickered with uncertainty. "We are prepared to discuss humanity's return to the Senate," Zareth began, trying to sound authoritative. "With, of course, appropriate adjustments to your status and voting rights." Aria allowed herself a small smile. "I think you misunderstand the situation, First Counselor. We're not here to negotiate our return to the Senate. We're here to negotiate the Senate's relationship with the new human alliance." The quantum sensors detected spikes in energy emissions from the alien ships as their crews reacted to this statement. The Axares crystalline ship actually chimed with shock. The Senate has stood for 10,000 years. The Meridian Triad leader protested. You cannot simply. We already have. Area interrupted. Your civilizations depend on human technology. Your economies are collapsing without our innovations. Your military forces are discovering just how much of their capability came from our primitive contributions. She gestured, and holographic displays appeared around every ship in the Senate fleet, showing real-time data about their failing systems. The aliens watched in horror as humans demonstrated just how thoroughly they understood every aspect of their technology. This is impossible. The collective's high-energy form pulsed. Your species has been playing a very long game, Area finished. Every time you dismissed us as primitive, we were advancing beyond your understanding. Every time you treated us as children, we were quietly becoming the adults in the room. She touched a control, and new holographic images appeared. Massive shipyards in human space, fleets of advanced vessels, technological marvels that the Senate had thought impossible. For 50 years, you thought you were guiding our development. Area continued. You never realized we were carefully reshaping galactic civilization from within. Every improvement we offered, every innovation we shared, was part of a larger plan. A plan for what? Zareth demanded, his crystalline form resonating with multiple frequencies of distress. A plan to ensure that no species would ever again be dismissed and degraded as humanity was. Area replied. The old Senate system dies today. In its place, we offer something new. A true alliance of equals, built on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. The quantum sensors detected weapons powering up on 3 of the Senate vessels. Before their crews could even finish the targeting sequences, the weapons systems shut down completely. Don't, Area said quietly. Just don't. Your weapons systems were designed with our help, remember. We know every weakness, every flaw, every backdoor. We could have destroyed your civilizations from within at any time. Instead, we chose to help you grow, even as you dismissed us. She stood, her holographic image towering in the communication fields of every Senate ship. You have a choice to make. Continue treating other species as inferior, holding onto your outdated notion of superiority, and watch your civilizations crumble without human support, or join us in building something better. And if we refuse, the collective representative pulsed. Then you'll discover just how far humanity has advanced while you weren't paying attention, Area replied. The quantum barrier around human space isn't just for defense. With a single command, we could extend it to cut off any world or system from the rest of the galaxy. How long would your civilizations last in isolation? The Senate representatives conferred frantically among themselves, their communications easily monitored by the Prometheus's quantum sensors. They were beginning to understand the true scope of their situation, and the incredible restraint humanity had shown in not using their advantages for conquest. The future of galactic civilization stands at a crossroads, Area announced. You dismissed us as children, but we have become the guardians of something far greater than the old Senate could ever achieve. The choice is yours. Evolve or become irrelevant. In the silence that followed, the fate of 1,000 worlds hung in the balance. Humanity had revealed itself as the hidden power behind galactic civilization. Now, the species that had once dismissed them would have to decide how to face this new reality. New dawn. 1 year after humanity's revelation of their true power, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The old Senate chamber stood empty, its grand architecture now serving as a monument to the past. In its place, a new structure had risen. The Galactic Alliance headquarters, designed with technology that merged human quantum engineering with the best innovations of all species. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the new Alliance Council chamber, surrounded by representatives from over 200 worlds. The chamber itself was a testament to the new era, a space where quantum fields adapted to each species' needs, where Axari crystalline beings could resonate freely while meridian silicon forms interfaced directly with the environment, where the collective's energy beings could exist in their natural state while communicating seamlessly with all. The first year of the Alliance has exceeded all projections, Sarah announced, her voice carried perfectly to each representative in their preferred form of communication. Economic recovery has reached 93% of pre-crisis levels. Technological integration under the new cooperative protocols has led to breakthroughs in 17 critical fields. She gestured, and the chamber filled with holographic displays showing the transformation. Ships of hybrid design. Human quantum technology merged with Axari crystal matrices and meridian silicon computing, patrolled trade routes that were safer than ever before. The collective's energy form settlements pulsed with new vitality, powered by human fusion technology adapted to their unique needs. More importantly, Sarah continued, we have welcomed 12 new species into the Alliance this year, species that the old Senate had dismissed as too primitive or unstable for membership. In their section of the chamber, the representatives of these new species sat proudly. The silicon crystal hybrid beings of Verix, the quantum phase entities of the Drift, the organic tech symbionts of Nephara, all had found their place in the new order. Admiral Helena Drake, now Supreme Commander of the Alliance Defense Force, stepped forward. Her uniform bore the new Alliance insignia, a quantum field matrix representing the interconnected nature of all species. The defensive capabilities of all Alliance worlds have been upgraded, she reported. The quantum mesh now protects all member territories, adapted to each species' specific needs. Our joint fleet exercises have proven that together, we are stronger than any one civilization could be alone. In the audience, First Counselor Zareth's crystalline form resonated with harmonics that would have been impossible a year ago. The Axari had been among the first to embrace the new reality, their natural affinity for complex structures helping them understand the beauty of true cooperation. The Axari remember our arrogance, he announced, rising to address the chamber. We thought ourselves superior, masters of crystal and energy. Now we understand. True mastery comes from cooperation, from recognizing that each species brings unique gifts to our collective future. The Meridian Triad joined in, their silicon forms gleaming with new alloys developed through cooperation with human metallurgists. Our computational networks have evolved beyond our wildest predictions. By accepting humanity's guidance, we have found new paths of growth we never imagined. Dr. Maya Patel, now Director of Alliance Scientific Development, activated a new holographic display. This is perhaps our greatest achievement, she said, showing a massive structure taking shape in neutral space. The first universal university, where all species can learn from each other freely. No more artificial barriers, no more hidden advances, no more treating any species as inferior. The display showed young beings from dozens of worlds working together, sharing knowledge and capabilities that their parents' generation would have thought impossible to share. Sarah stepped forward again, her expression serious. We faced a choice when we revealed ourselves, she said. We could have used our advantages for dominance, forced our will upon the galaxy. Instead, we chose to offer partnership, true partnership based on respect and mutual growth. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, crystals, silicon plates, and energy forms of each representative. Humanity remembered how it felt to be dismissed, to be treated as children. We swore that in our moment of revelation, we would not repeat that mistake, and look at what we have achieved together. The chamber's quantum fields hummed with agreement. The old hatreds, the old prejudices were fading. A new generation was rising, one that saw strength in diversity, power in cooperation. Yet our greatest challenges lie ahead, Sarah continued. There are still species out there, unknown to us, developing in isolation. The mistakes of the old Senate need not be repeated. When we find them, we will offer them what we wished we had been offered: respect, partnership, and a chance to join something greater than themselves. Admiral Drake added, And if threats arise from beyond known space, they will find not a collection of squabbling civilizations, but a unified alliance capable of defending all its members equally. The chamber erupted in agreement, each species expressing support in their own way. Crystalline chimes, silicon resonances, energy pulses, and dozens of other forms of communication, all blending into a harmony that would have been impossible under the old order. As the session concluded, Sarah found herself back at the observation deck where this had all begun a year ago. The view was different now. Ships of mixed technology moved purposefully through space, quantum fields shimmered visibly around Alliance worlds, and construction continued on projects that would have been thought impossible 18 months ago. Quite a view, isn't it? Admiral Drake joined her at the window. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we revealed ourselves sooner. Sarah shook her head. We needed those 50 years, not just to develop our technology, but to understand how to use it wisely. We learned from their mistakes, even as they dismissed us. And now we build something new, Helena finished. Together. Outside the window, a group of ships moved past. Human quantum drives, Axari crystal matrices, Meridian silicon computers, and collective energy forms, all working in perfect harmony. The future they had dreamed of was already taking shape, one cooperative step at a time. The galaxy had learned its lesson about underestimating humanity, but more importantly, humanity had remembered its own lesson about the responsibility that came with power. In the end, that wisdom had transformed not just human civilization, but all of known space. A new dawn had truly risen for all species, and its light would shine far into the future.